Welcome to the Craig and Greg Show, presented by Maximize Leadership. Now, here are Craig Owens and Greg Harris.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Craig and Greg Show. A little bit ago, we teased it, and I kind of refrained myself from holding back to tell you the title of Greg's new book that was coming out, but the book is now out, and so now I feel like I can spill the beans, that we have. So, listen, a lot of people talk about when they go into, especially the sales area, going to battle. But I've never seen a book before and that really focuses on like the battlefront. And so you picked kind of a little bit of a provocative title for the book. Like people are going to go, what in the world? What's the title of the book?
Sales Armageddon.
Armageddon. And I love the subtitle as well, which really kind of has the idea of, hey, if you're not willing to innovate, if you're really not willing to put on your battle armor and get in there, you're done for.
Well, you're going to be left on the sidelines. It happens so fast, the changes, adaptation. So the subtitle is, practice and prepare or perish.
Right.
And but it's new things. So the book really kind of lays out new things to practice, new technologies, new approaches, new habits that will get us to the next level and actually keep us on the battlefield. Versus the sidelines.
Absolutely. And I like in keeping that kind of current feel, there's a running story. So even though the book is written into 9 chapters, there is a running story right from the very beginning, and you're meeting, it's one company, a fictional company that's, I know it's based on other people that you've worked with before, but it's one fictional company, and we're meeting different characters along the way. So like I said, I know it's based on real people, but where did you come up with that idea? How did you hatch that? Like, I'm going to tell a story within the whole story.
There are other authors that have gone fables, and then they hammer home a business point or a leadership point. And I thought to myself, you can write a lot of information on ways in which to get referrals, how do you keep your pipeline healthy, blah, 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 blah. But to get the point across, I think sometimes if we read creative stories, it kind of gets our juices going versus facts or bullet points.
Sure.
Here's 10 ways to do this. And you're like, well, I did 2 of them. But the story kind of gives you the personals, and you kind of connect with someone who struggled and figured it out later, and they're a success now. And that's really the hope. The point is stay in the battlefield, make sure you got all your ammunition and all your armor. But the book it's an interesting book, particularly where the fable brings in characters to hammer home something that we all have to do better, or we won't make it.
Right.
And in sales is becoming more cutthroat. We got more competition, not just local. We've got international competition.
Oh, and online, people can get on there and just find what they want
online, or you can get some. So we got to sharpen our ammunition, our tools, our weapons to really be successful. Versus years ago, just the change was slow.
Yeah.
Now it's not.
Right. Well, and as I was reading it, I found myself like really quickly, sort of anticipating, because like you'd meet a character and you'd see how they overcame a hurdle. And then later on, you're reading about another teammate that's on that sales team. And I would be saying, all right, so I wonder what hurdle they're going to have and how are they going to overcome this one? And then you would sometimes bring in some of the other characters would come back and say, hey, let me tell you the lesson that I learned. And they would come alongside, which is kind of that foxhole mentality.
Excellent.
Like we're yes, we got this big company and I want to make my sales and I want you to make your sales, but we're in this foxhole together.
Well, the war plan, the game plan, you can use sports or military. I think it's important that you're not alone in this. What I like about there was the sales manager, the VP of sales is Dwayne, and he's picked a collection of people. Isn't that typical for most organizations? You don't have a bunch of robots. They don't look the same.
Right.
And what I find fascinating, if each person gets brought in, he actually loves and cares for every person. But he has to manage differently. And I think that's part of our own aha, whether you're a sales leader or you're in sales and your manager's helping you. it's interesting how the team, the fellow warriors, helped each other out as much as Dwayne.
Sure. And I liked as well, like not only the individualized attention, but then like he would work with somebody and then say to that person, hey, at the next sales meeting, now I want you to step up into a leadership role as well, because you've got something to offer to the rest of the team.
In essence, there's a lot of moving parts in the book. I think the story, the fable itself actually says a lot. Like if you're VP of sales, you don't have to always be the guy or the lady.
Yep.
The team can, the warriors, the soldiers can kind of do it. And most of the chapters, someone probably got involved and helped that person. Could have been an outside coach, could be a fellow worker, and they pointed things out, or they went together as a team and sold together. So it's an encouraging book. It's entertaining. The personalities are there. It takes place in Alabama. And it's a software company, and they help different businesses, and they're real stories of, I had to change a few things to protect the innocent, but overall, the lesson is top down and sideways. It's vertical and horizontal.
Right.
So,
and as you mentioned earlier about I got to practice new techniques and be aware of those. You even have a character in there that I think is Titus, who is really kind of set in his ways when it comes to technology. He would be more of like going to like a paper system, not a computerized system. But one of the things that I liked, because we have this a lot in your story part of it, is that he recognized, hey, wait a minute. All right, I'm kind of deficient in the technology part. And so on this sales call, I need to step aside and let one of these other younger guys step in here. But at the same time, I like how then the younger guy said, but boy, Titus is so good at the face-to-face and maintaining that relationship. I can learn something from him as well in this. So I love the kind of win-win, or the iron sharpening iron right there in that foxhole together.
In the end, you're not selling by yourself.
Yeah.
You have a company behind you. You have people that either make the product, deliver the product, service the product, etc. I just like the sales org feel, so that's what I wanted to depict in the fable. And then later in each chapter, then there's a real business subjects where you're like, all right, these are the 4 reasons why this, and this particular habit is not easy to establish because it's counterintuitive to how we're made. And so, but the fable sets it up nice, and there's stats and quotes in there. But it was a great project for me, and I appreciate your compliments on it. The names aren't real. They're real names, but their journey, they're self-aware, they're maybe asking for help is really the point in all of it. Is they all work together and they all won at different chapters and paces, and some were way up here and some were just learning and everything in between. Sometimes this person learned the most and this person was slowest to learn, and that's pretty typical. But yeah, the characters were really fun to write, and I will have to admit, of the 2 pieces of each chapter, I love the fable the best, because you knew the points you wanted to bring in, and maybe the good feel of, hey, you're not a loser. You're not injured. You're still on the battlefield. Go sell. Just sell.
So now, listen, guys. I will tell you that it's not just a soft story, and you're trying to figure out the lessons. There is the science of sales, if I could put it that way, in there. There's the psychology of sales. So Greg has done his research as well, and will give you some facts to back up what's going on in the minds of that person and in their strategies that they're doing. And so there's that component is really woven all the way through the chapter as well. So let's just pick one of the topics. I'm going to put you on the spot because I'm going to pick the topic here. But one of the things that's really important for somebody in sales is to have a very robust pipeline. You don't want to make, you're so focused on selling, and you sell to this one client, and then you kind of like, all right, now what do? I don't have anybody to sell to. So talk a little bit about, let's just tease that chapter a little bit. What's some of maybe the hindrances that some people, or the hangups that have kept them from having this robust pipeline of new potential clients that are coming down?
I think if you're in sales, whether it's tangible or intangible, and we kind of talk about that in the book, you have to bring your A game, your best shot, right? But what I think happens with prospecting, pipeline particularly, they make the assumption they're going to close them all.
Yep.
So you have an assumption, which puts you in a little bit of a deficit already. So yeah, I've got 13 prospects for this month or the year. And so it just kind of plays out. You can run out if their circumstances change. There's a person who comes in and has a more fancy or a better solution proposal. Right. And so the whole pipeline, it's not fun, but in the book, it'll end up being something where you actually feel more confident because your pipeline is robust.
Right.
It's full, it's moving. And instead of like, I just love meeting to talk about what they're going to buy.
Right.
Well, you got to get them in the pipeline and kind of warm it up. And that takes the work. I would say, I didn't get into this in the book, but I remember working with one of my salespersons, and he's like, I just want to sell. And I says, yes, prospecting is that.
Right. Because
you have to sell the potential client that they should be with you. They just wanted to be in the meeting to say, hey, here's my proposal. What do you think?
Right.
And like, well, that's the fourth quarter. And that could be that could be dessert. Right. You got to do all the prep work or the meal,
Yep.
And I think for most people, pipelining is it's knowledgeable information, but I give them some interesting ideas of how to fill the pipeline,
yep.
How to stay after it,
yep.
What's unique, how do you can. People have different ideas. This is an A prospect, this is a B prospect, this is a C prospect, not very likely. And you have to make sure you get rid of C's because they'll clog the pipeline on the A's.
Yep.
And the character in the book ended up, panicking.
Yeah.
Which really it's a pretty common thing. I remember one of the guys that I was responsible for, a great sales guy, but one day he goes, I need help. And I said, why is that? He says, I don't have anybody to talk to. I thought the 3 that were teed up and proposed were all going to go with me, and that'd be my quota. And none of them came for various reasons. None of them his fault. And he came in, and looked like he just saw a ghost.
Yep.
And I said, all right, brother, so we got to do this in about 60 days because, you'll be into your next quarter, and there's certain things to hit, from a threshold. And so he did it. But he actually asked me to come in and say, help me with my pipeline. And I think that's a real nervous point for most salespeople is, do I have enough to make my quota or make what I want? My
Sure.
goals, I really have big goals. I want to win that trip,
Yep.
So.
Well, and so again, what you're going to read in the book, you're going to get the emotion of that guy coming into you. And I think in the story that same feeling comes across where all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh, and you feel it. But then there's also the kind of left brain facts. Yeah. Like you can read here, okay, here's some of the things that might have led to him not having a robust pipeline.
Right.
Here's the steps that he can take right now to begin to get that pipeline all restocked again and have it going. And so you learn a lesson really kind of both ways, the right brain story, emotion part, and then the left brain logical part. So you're going to find that in each one. And then again, kind of carrying through in the chapter, you always have a part in there that you call it the sales ammo. And so, it's kind of like, all right, here's what I could stock up with.
One nugget.
Yeah, I can walk away with this thing. And then now I know you got water in here, but we have a little Mountain Dew thing in each chapter that is called sales caffeine. Yeah. So if you need a little, it's just kind of usually one sentence or one quick thought of like, hey, walk away from this chapter with this. This will give you the little jolt maybe to start their own creative process spinning. Like, okay, let me take what I just read in Greg's Sales Armageddon and I bet you I could adapt that for myself to do with that sales caffeine. So we got quotes in there, we got statistics, we got science, we got psychology, we've got the story. I mean, this book really kind of hits all of the high points that's going to help people.
I think, for most people in sales, they like flexibility. They like that it's not a salary, that they have the potential to make a little more than, each year or grow, whatever. I think some love competition, like they just want to get in there and fight.
Right.
And so it gives everybody a little bit of that, in each chapter and each character. I think, like yourself and others that have read the manuscript, they're like, that was one guy I used to work with, a lady.
Oh, yeah.
She used to do that too, or,
Yep.
So I think you can make some assimilations like, that's not just a metaphor, that's real.
And hopefully some people will be like looking in a mirror going, oh, that's me.
Yeah, well, in fact, some of the characters did that,
Yeah.
where they kind of got their, got handed to them,
Right.
got knocked over, and they're like, no, I'm not going to stay down.
Right.
But I got to get up a little different,
Yep.
or perish.
Yep.
And I think you're right. The left brain, right brain, maybe kind of a go on the road with the one quote. So it's a Cliff Note quote,
Yep.
sort of like
the sales caffeine part.
caffeine.
Yep.
Yep. So you have just a little takeaway. You can read the story, you can read the business section of it on the sales psychology, the emotions of the fable. But the people that hopefully will read this will say, you know what, I do 80% of that. That's all it is. It's just a little click. It's 1%. It's just a little bit.
Sure.
You're in sales. You got to be doing something right. You weren't hired for
Right.
because they had an open seat. But wow, if we could just apply a couple things and then stick with it. I think that's really one of our biggest lessons in life is, hey, I tried it. How'd it go? Well, I stopped. No, but how did it go? Well, it did work. So keep marching, right?
Yeah.
Keep moving forward. You're in the infantry. Let's go. Keep making progress. And I hope that people will feel encouraged and educated all at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think they will, and it's going to be. It's not a heavy read. Like, boy, I really got to ponder this. You're going to probably read it pretty quickly. It flows like a story, but I think that you're going to walk away with at least, you got 9 chapters, so at least 9 good ideas that are going to help stimulate your thoughts there. So here's what you can do as well. After you pick up a copy of Sales Armageddon and you start reading that, if you get to a spot and you go, boy, I'm kind of struggling there, come back to MaximizeLeadership.com and click on the link that says coaching. And you can even say in that form, say, hey, Greg, I read Sales Armageddon, and when I got to this chapter, here's the part that I need some help on. And it might be Greg that steps in and says, hey, I can coach you, or maybe some of our other coaches might be a good fit. But really what Sales Armageddon is going to do is just kind of fit together with all of the other resources that Maximize Leadership has in the on the shelf and ready for you to be able to use. So this is just another component. It's an excellent component, but it's an important part for the whole package. We want to just help you get better in every aspect of your leadership. So one of the ways that you can help us help you is talk back to us a little bit. Maybe it's on this video or on this podcast. Maybe it's on X. You can find us there on Maximize Podcast. Give us a little feedback on this episode and say, hey, I like this part. I'd like you to talk a little bit more about this. Or maybe you just reach out to us and say, here's a topic I've not heard other people talk about. Love to have you guys weigh in on it on an upcoming episode. We want to just take that feedback from you and resource you so you can be the very best leader that you can be. That's what we're around for. So stay tuned, because there's always lots more great content that's going to be coming your way. We got a great pipeline, a robust pipeline of leadership information that's coming your way. So stay tuned.
Get in touch with Craig and Greg through Twitter at Maximize Podcast or at MaximizeLeadership.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of The Craig and Greg Show.